Hey, what's going on everybody? I just want to take this video to explain how to get started with this dividend tracker. There's a link in the description below if you'd like to get it, but basically this is the custom Google Sheet that I made that I've been using to track my own dividend investments. And I think I just want to take a minute here to just talk through exactly how you would get started with this from a brand new portfolio with basically nothing, starting from scratch. And then also what to do if you want to import a portfolio that you've already been investing in, but you decide that you want to start using this sheet. So just a quick run through in case you haven't seen the other videos. Basically this is the summary page. There's a portfolio tab here with all of the different positions. There's this thing in here for Sparkline where you can kind of change like the duration and even basically the thing that we're looking at. This sets a list that's equal to everything that we have in our holdings. There's a tab here for transactions where I just log every single buy and sell, all of the fees, etc. In here we have all of the deposits and withdrawals. I log every dividend that I get as I receive them. There's a tab in here for converting money if you're able to hold cash in your trading account. This is irrelevant to Wealthsimple Trade users, but someone with like Trade or TD or something would be wanting to use this. There's a tab in here for splits in case you do experience a stock split, and then here there's just one for extra Sparklines, just basically so you can quickly scan the 1-year profile for everything that's in the portfolio. And also a tab for watch list for basically just keeping a quick eye on other stuff that's not yet in the portfolio. So that's pretty much the overview of the spreadsheet. If you do download it, you're going to be given access to a Google Drive folder with 3 different files in it. So we have the blank template. This is the one that you're going to start with. We also have an example with 3 positions. That is the one that we're building in this video, for example, so you'll be able to check in and look at that one as well. And also I have an example here with 30 positions, just so you can get an idea and play around with exactly what it would look like for different sizes of portfolios. But when you download it, make sure you do read the instructions. But otherwise, what you want to do is you're going to be signed in your Gmail account, and so you want to click on the blank template and open it up. And it's going to look something like this. Everything will be completely empty, and that's totally okay. You're also going to notice that it says View Only. So what you need to do is you have to click here on File, and then Make a Copy. You can call this whatever you want. Let's just call it My Portfolio. And when you hit Save, this is actually going to save it to your main directory of your Google Drive of the Gmail account that you're signed in with. So once you do that, notice the file name here has changed to My Portfolio or whatever you called it. And just remember that this file is going to be located in your Google Drive now. And basically you are the owner and editor of this copy. And you're free to do whatever you want with it now. And no one else will be able to see or see any of the changes because it's your file. So if you were getting started from scratch, the first thing that you would do in your trading app or broker is that you would obviously have to deposit some money. So we can start running through that. So we would go into the Deposits Withdrawals tab. You can give it an account name if you want. This is actually kind of unnecessary, but it's just here for your reference. And let's say you put in $5,000 on, that was Canadian dollars, and let's say that was on March 1, 2021. Once that clears in your trading app, the next thing that you would be doing would be buying stocks. So when you're ready to do that and you have already bought some stocks in your trading app, then you would come in here and you would log your transactions. So when you type in the ticker, let's say we bought some in a company called TransAlta Renewables, it's TSCRNW, you need to type in the ticker and you need to specify the market. So if you hover over the cell, the sheet currently supports Toronto Stock Exchange, the Toronto Stock Venture Exchange, you need to format it with CVE instead of TSC, the New York Stock Exchange, and the NASDAQ. So when you're using the sheet, always specify the ticker it's on. Don't just write something like TD, because TD also exists on the Toronto Stock Exchange and on the New York Stock Exchange. So it's going to confuse the sheet. It's much better to just use the ticker. Okay, so you would log the day that you bought this. So let's say you bought it on March 15, 2021, and that we bought 10 shares at a price of $19. If you're using Wealthsimple Trade, your fees would be nothing. If you're using another broker, make sure you log the fees. If it's a Canadian fee, log it. If it's a US fee, log it here as well. And then also record which currency you actually paid for. So if you're using Wealthsimple Trade like me, you're paying in Canadian dollars. This is here just for some situations where people buy US stocks in Wealthsimple Trade and things like that, where you would actually pay Canadian dollars even though the stock value is in US. If you have any confusion about that, just leave a comment or send me a message and I'll be able to help you through this, but it should be pretty straightforward. Now, every time you start a new position in a company, that being basically you buy stocks in the company for the first time, you have to add it to the Portfolio tab. So come to the Portfolio tab in the bottom, and we're going to start it in here. So this is going to be our first position. I like to keep track in chronological order here with just some numbers, and then you can come back and reorganize the portfolio that way, and I'll show you that in a second. But basically just put in the ticker here, TSE RNW, and then all this information shows up, which is all automatic, and then you also just have to select the sector yourself. In this case it is a utility company. Okay, let's actually go and say we buy some other stocks in another company as well. And so you would have another transaction here. And let's say you buy some in Smart Centers. So that is SRU.UN. This is a REIT, and often REITs have this .UN afterwards, so watch out for that with the formatting as well. But basically say we put these in on March 16th, 2021, and that we also bought 10 of these, but we paid a price of, let's say, $25. Okay, and again, set your fees here for what you paid, and this would obviously be paid in Canadian dollars. Now, we did just start another position as well, so you would have to go back into the portfolio and just log that you have position number 2. It's TSESRU.UN, and this one would be real estate because it's a real estate investment trust. And you can see here we have the average price that we put in for both of them. We only made one transaction, so the average price is equal to the price that we paid. But it logs here automatically the current price and then basically our gain or loss in dollars and percent. The annual dividend is automatic, the dividend yield, and all of this information is automatic. It's important to mention actually that in this entire spreadsheet you only ever need to input stuff into the blue cells. So anything that's a white cell, just don't touch, only touch the blue cells, and you're going to see that throughout the sheet. For example, there's some blue cells here, there's blue cells in here, everything else is automatic, there's blue cells here, and so on. Now, if we go back into the transactions tab, let's say we make another purchase of TransAlta Renewables, so TSE RNW, and we'll put this one through on, let's say, March 20th, 2021, and we buy 10, and for some reason this time we got a good deal and we paid $15, and no fees, and we paid in Canadian. So we paid for 10 times 19 and 10 times 15, so when we come to the portfolio tab and look at the average price, now our average price for TransAlta Renewables is $17 because it's halfway in the middle, which should hopefully make sense. So this is always going to take that into consideration, including if we sell out shares and they are removed from our portfolio as well. Okay, so let's take a look at the summary page right now and see what it's looking like. So we have some stuff in here. Remember we put in $5,000, we deposited $5,000 in cash. This reports our stock value, basically the sum of all of the stocks that are in the portfolio, and this is the remaining cash. And then obviously this is our total account balance. So in this case we would be up 1.52%, and that's great. Notice that we have paid no fees in at all because that's the way that we logged it. So look here, we have a cash of 4,410, but if we were paying fees, for example, if we had paid a $9.99 fee here, then this gets reflected and removed from the portfolio. So our cash has just $10 has gone, it's been subtracted, and $10 has been removed from here as well. So the next thing that we would probably be looking for is eventually getting some dividends. So as the dividend payments start rolling in, you need to log them as well. So in the dividends page here, let's say that for TransAlta Renewables, TSE RNW, let's say by April 1st, 2021, we got a dividend of, let's say, $2, and that came in Canadian dollars. And then we also get another one on May 1st, 2021 for another $2 Canadian. And then we get a dividend for Smart Centers. Let's say that comes through on May 2nd, 2021. Oops, that should be a colon. And let's say that this one was for $3 and it was in Canadian. So when we look at the summary page, it might not line up perfectly depending on when you download the sheet. Whatever version I've been working on lately is like this might not be set to the exact day, the month, and year that you start. For example, if you start in 2022 or something like that, you're going to just have to quickly just readjust this for whatever is relevant to you. And that's because I can't predict, exactly what month every individual person is going to be downloading the sheet. But basically this sector pie chart, the holdings pie chart, and this dividend chart is all controlled by numbers that are just below down here. Notice that there are some blue cells here, and this is for the dividend bar chart data. So basically it's starting on September 2020 right here, and we want it to start on April 2021. So the best thing to do is just grab this, copy this, and paste it up here. and then we can drag this formula down, and that's going to give us basically a year. You can adjust this to have more months if you want, just by dragging it down or adding in more entries. But basically here, this is looking good. This is going to be a nice start to our dividend bar chart, and as it goes on, these numbers are hopefully going to increase and continue on, and you can adjust this to your exact needs as you wish. Here, notice that these cells are not blue. These are like automatically populated, and this will depend on exactly what you put in the portfolio. And actually, this is a good point to mention over here that we can adjust the sector pie chart data. We'll actually come to that back to that in 1 second, but we can put in custom entries here if you want. But basically, as dividends roll in, just record them as you get the notification in here, and it'll automatically update this this chart on the summary page. Okay, so let's say that you want to buy a US dollar stock now. Let's run through this example. So let's say that you've been looking and you wanted to buy one on the NASDAQ. So you would have to specify the market like that and then put in the ticker. Let's say it's Sundial Growers. Could be anything. And let's say that we buy these guys on March 21, 2021. And we're going to buy, let's say, 100 at a price of $2. Now, this is a US stock, so this is the US dollar stock price. If you're using Wealthsimple Trade, let's go through this example first, and then after we'll go through the example on how to do this using like Questrade or TD or something like that. But in Wealthsimple Trade, you would pay 0 fees, okay? And then you would actually pay in Canadian dollars because you're not able to hold US dollar cash. Now you're going to see this little message here, and it says, looks like you paid in Canadian dollars for this US stock. You need to override the value with the highlighted cell with the Canadian that you paid. Don't double count the trading fee. So you would just look in Wealthsimple Trade at the notification here, and it's going to tell you the exact amount of Canadian dollars that you spent. For this purchase of 200 US dollars, it's actually worth around 250 Canadian dollars, but you would also pay that 1.5% conversion fee. So let's say you paid, I don't know, 255 Canadian dollars. So you've overridden this, and this is in the same currency as column K, so this is in Canadian dollars. Okay, so we now need to just log this in the portfolio tab because we've started a new position. So come in here, so this is position number 3, and this was NASDAQ Sundial. And here you can pick the format here. You could log it as other or healthcare, I don't really know exactly. If you want to get really fancy, what you can do is you can come on the summary page and you can create a few more customized ones. So you could call it like weed or something like that. And then that's going to actually show up as an option here. So you could categorize all of your weed stocks together, and then when you look in summary, it's going to actually break it down in the sector as well. Now notice here we said that we bought it at $2, but the current price is $1.17. So here it's highlighted red as a loss, and compared to green as a gain. And then on the summary page here, we could see that now the account would be at like a net loss. It's also worth mentioning here that you can see here now that we actually have, a stock value here in US dollars. Again, even though we paid with Canadian dollars, we have some US stock value, and then here we have the total account equivalent. You can also toggle this between US and CAD, and also the dividend chart changes with those. If you are curious and just kind of get an idea of what the current exchange rate is here, notice that there's this here. You can put in numbers here, so if you want to see what 200 US dollars is worth at the moment, it would be 250 CAD, and the same here. You can do something like that. Again, just only touch the blue cells because everything else is formulas and is used in calculations. Okay, so let's go through this example again on buying a US stock, but assuming you're not using Wealthsimple Trade. So let's go back here to the Transactions tab and just remove what we had and just drag that over to reset it. Because I'm going to just put this back into the portfolio again, I'm not going to delete it as a new position. But let's say you're using Questrade or something, and you're actually going to want to buy these same stocks again. But you would actually use US dollars. So before you make the transaction, you have to have US dollars in your account in Questrade. And in Questrade, there's a screen that looks like something like this. If you're using Questrade, you'll know what screen I'm talking about. But you're able to convert money between currencies. And so before you buy a US stock, you need to get US dollars cash. So let's just say we convert some money right now. we have 4,400 Canadian dollars cash and 0 US dollars cash. In the convert money tab, let's say we just trade like 500 Canadian dollars, and that would get you by the regular exchange about 400 US dollars at the current exchange. But Questrade is going to have their currency exchange added into this, so you're not actually going to get 400 US dollars. You might get like 380 or something like that. I don't know. But they're very clear in those apps about what you give and what you get, and so you can do that here, converting from CAD to USD or from USD back to CAD. So anyways, we would give $500, we would get 380, and when we look at the portfolio here, sorry, the summary, we can see now that the CAD cash has dropped and the US dollar cash has increased. Okay, so now using Questrade, you would be able to buy and do that thing, do that transaction, and then log it here in the sheet. So we would come in then after the purchase and go NASDAQ sundial. Again, let's say that this was on March 21, 2021, and again we wanted to buy 100 shares at a price of, let's say it was $2. In this case, let's say that you'd ended up paying a trading fee, and depending on which app you use, you might get charged in Canadian dollars or you might get charged in US dollars for a US transaction. I'm not a Questrade user, so I can't remember which one it is, but let's just put it in as Canadian $4.99, and then you actually paid with US dollars for the stocks themselves. So we actually spent $200 to get these stocks, plus the $4.99 CAD. So when you come and look in the summary page, you can see that the US dollar, the cash has dropped by exactly 200, but then you've also lost $4.99 here in the cash on your trading fees, and you can see here it's just being added to the total amount. And this is just like a cumulative thing. This is all the money that's ever left your account for trading fees that you're never going to get back, which is kind of an interesting thing to watch. And it's nice because if you're using Wealthsimple Trade, for example, it's always zero, and that's something that I like. Obviously, the currency exchange rates are more favorable to other apps, but yeah, just something to kind of track and be aware of. I think there's one more thing just to mention about the sheet for using it, and then that's when you actually go to sell some stocks. So if we go to transactions, and let's say we want to sell some stock, so we come in here and we log our transaction. Let's say we're selling TransAlta Renewables on, let's say, March 22, 2021. And let's say we sell 5 at a price of 20. Now just before you log it here, what you want to do is just go back into the portfolio and look at the average price, at the time that you sell them. So just come back in, go to the portfolio, and look for the average price value. Right now it's 17. So before you do anything in the transactions tab, just write this in here, 17, and then log that you sold 5 at a price of 20. Put in your fees. If you're using Wealthsimple Trade, it's going to be 0, and again, Canadian. What this does, this is super important because this will actually remove 5 shares, of a price of 17, basically for all of the calculations that determine what your current average price is, and it won't continue counting stocks that are no longer in your portfolio. So you have to get this right if you want the calculations to be right, but it's pretty simple just to add that in. And then when you come here and look in your portfolio, the average price is still 17 because you haven't bought any more. But then basically the next time you go to buy, that number is going to get incorporated and it will all calculate properly. But just notice here that you're currently holding 15, and until you buy again, then the average price, the next time you buy the stock, it will get updated. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Just notice over here, I think I haven't mentioned this, there's just a little thing here. This basically divides your total portfolio amount by how many positions you have and gives you a target for like an even distribution of all of them. So right now, if you had an even holdings in each of them, your target would be 33.33%. And it just gives you a little indication here for anything that is less than that to maybe consider bumping it up. Again, this is just my preference. I like having this here. You don't have to use it if you don't want. And then if you scroll over as well, I just also have a column here for the ex-dividend date. If you are planning on selling or you'd like to know, that's just there as well. But yeah, like I said, the link is in the description below, so you can get the spreadsheet. I'm super active with the spreadsheet and responding to everyone because I use it myself. And so if you do download it and you have any questions, my email address is in the welcome tab. You can just send me an email and ask any questions and I'll help you work through them, because I basically just want everyone that's using the sheet to be happy because I like using it and there's no point in having unhappy people using it. So I do respond to everyone's questions. and I'm pretty active in helping people just, get set up. If there's any questions or if you see any errors or bugs, please let me know, because I take all of that feedback, and if there is a bug, like I go and I fix it, and then I'll release a new version. And if you have already got the spreadsheet, then you'll be on my list, and I'll send out an email to everyone to let them know that there is a new version and the bugs have been removed or there's been some improvements or whatever. So yeah, oh yeah, there's one more thing I forgot to mention. It's if you are importing a portfolio not from scratch, it's pretty simple actually. All you have to do is, for example, you would have already established positions in companies that you've done many transactions for in the past, but basically you're going to have an average price that's going to be displayed to you in your broker, whatever broker you're using. And so the first time to get started, all you have to do is say you have done many transactions, like 100 different buys and sells of TransAlta Renewables, but at the moment your average price is 17. So you would just come in here and log one single transaction at an average. You'd put in your average price and the total number that you're holding in your portfolio. So whatever that number is, it will display in Wealthsimple Trade or any broker, but in the total number you have and the average price is displayed. And then after that moment, once you have all of your portfolio put in, then start logging every individual buy and sell after that, and everything will calculate properly. And the same thing goes for whatever amount of cash you have in deposits in your portfolio. Just takes a little bit of time to just massage that out. But basically just put in if you've done multiple deposits, just put in one single deposit up until this point, and then in the future start logging the deposits going forward as well. This spreadsheet should work perfectly on mine. Outside of trading hours, specifically in the morning before the markets open, when I'm on my summary page, my total is exactly the same in the spreadsheet as it is in my broker, to the exact same cent. During trading hours, they have this trading delay, so the Google Sheets and your trading app can have a 15 or 20 minute delay, so it's going to have slightly different values displaying during trading hours and even a little bit after trading hours. But basically you want this to be exactly the same, and if it's not to the cent, then that just means that there's very likely an error, a user error somewhere that you've typed in, possibly a wrong transaction or a wrong price or something like that. Because like I said, with my version, it's working to the cent exactly correct. But yeah, if you have any issues importing a portfolio and for that doesn't make sense as well, again, my email is in the welcome tab. Send me an email and just let me know, and I'll very happily help you through that. So guys, thanks for watching, thanks for downloading the sheet, and good luck investing, and I'll see you around.